Hi, and good day to everyone. Another thrilling amp demo from the tone room of Frugal Amps. Today I've got a JudyBox amp that was a company that was earlier in the, I can't remember exactly, back in 2005 or 2010s, somewhere back in the distant past. They were bringing this amp out into production, and they started to make a name for themselves. They showed it at some guitar shows, and they really never quite made it to volume production, and they kind of fell by the wayside. This amp was showed itself up on eBay, and it had no speaker. It was not functional. The price was right. It looked to be a prototype amp from the looks of the circuit board. So I picked it up at a very reasonable price. I found out that the transformers were gone. No good. So I replaced those. I went through the amp and fixed an awful lot of very poor soldering. This amp looked like, I say it was a prototype because it looked like it had been kind of put together by hand, but not by the most skilled of soldering folks. And that happens in prototype amps a lot. But be that as it may, I went through the entire thing, replaced some bad parts, tweaked the tone controls a little bit to make them a little more effective, and I added a master volume. This is a 30-watt cathode biased amp, and it's two channels. Channel 1 is called Fire, and channel 2 is called Brimstone, and each of the channels has its own volume control, and each has its own treble and bass controls for each of the two channels. It's a fairly loud amp, opened all the way up. I have my camera volume kind of turned down so I can play it pretty loudly and not distort the microphone. So if it sounds a little quiet, it's because of that on the camera. But listen to it loud. Anyways, I put an Eminence Legend speaker, a 12-inch 8-ohm speaker in this cabinet, and that speaker is just a really good sound. It's one of my favorite speakers in terms of the price and how they sound. It's just a great all-around speaker. Complements this amp pretty well. I believe at the time they came with their own house-made speakers, but this amp didn't have one. So I'm going to demo it. I'm going to subject you once again to my horrific guitar playing. Sorry, but I'm the only one here. And I'm going to play it through my Strat, which I built, and it's got a little bit of everything. It's got a single coil in the neck, it's got a P90 pickup in the middle, and it's got a humbucker in the bridge position, so I can kind of hit all the pickup tones. And here comes the demo. Today I've got my special rhythm shoes on, if you see them in the video, and I'm going to turn the master volume up so it's out of the circuit. I'm going to plug into the Fire channel. Fire. Right now everything's up halfway, the volume, and this is the EQ section for the first channel. Let's put a single coil on. Nice thing about the circuit, like a lot of kind of the tweed-based circuits, if you back down on the guitar volume, I go from 10 down to 5. the amp cleans up pretty nicely, so that you don't need to be adjusting the volume of the amp. You can just go from a rhythm sound. Crank it up. Like a lot of bass coming out of that thing. The bass down. It is really loud. It is really loud with the master turned all the way up. The tone controls are pretty effective. And that's the lower gain channel. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. Plug into this is the brimstone channel. Be a little noisy in the single coil mode. We'll switch to a humbucker. P90s. If you turn the master volume down and crank the channels up, you can get it to overdrive at much lower sound level. So I would say Brimstone is not what I would call a heavy metal channel. These are more variations on some of the Tweed amps that I've seen. Circuit-wise, it's similar to a lot of the Tweed amps, and so the overdrive characteristics are very similar to that. So it's not a metal amp. It's a really it takes pedals really well. It has plenty of volume. The master volume is pretty handy if you want to crank this down into practice levels. It's kind of ready to go. It is for sale now at the Frugal Amps website. And thanks for bearing with the guitar playing. Appreciate it. Bye.